What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Project FITFO Podcast. I am Mark, your host, and today you have me, and you also have my team, my media team, my great media team, two great professionals. Of course, you're going to only probably see me on the camera, but they're here. I've got Tony, Hayes Visuals, and I also got Webster, Studio Rising. Both great media, photography, videography individuals. But today we're going to do something little off what we normally do, off the norm. We're going to talk about me because I think it's important to understand why I even put this podcast together. And I want my guys here to chime in when they feel the need. We're going to talk and we're going to discuss kind of, what my history is and what my background, where Project FITFO came from. So, gentlemen, go ahead and chime in whenever you want. You got questions? Handle it. All right. Here we go. All right. So, let's start off with why FITFO? Well, obviously, I am a retired United States Marine after 21 years of service. Rah.
Semper Fidelis.
Semper Fidelis, Fidelis Semper. So, with that, I knew the acronym FITFO during my military career, which came up numerous of times, especially when somebody tasked you to do something and didn't give you any kind of direction. And you asked, hey, what am I supposed to be doing here? And they yell out, FITFO. And I'm like, okay. And you have to figure it the F out. And I want to say thank you to the Marine Corps for really ingraining that into my system. Because I think without the Marine Corps, I really wouldn't truly understand what FITFO means. But FITFO isn't just a military thing. It's also a civilian world thing, a regular person type thing, so to speak. So 16 years old, I'm dating myself here, 1995.
I was born that year.
Oh.
I was born that year.
Jeez.
I wasn't even conceptualized.
Man. All right. So you just made me feel old. But 16 years old, 1995, September. It was this September of my senior year, beginning of my senior year. I find out my girlfriend at the time is pregnant. And I was like, oh, okay. Surprisingly, I know this sounds crazy, but contrary to popular belief, I was actually excited. I was like, man, I'm going to be a dad. This is pretty cool, right? I'm going to have a little boy. He's going to run around. He's going to be a junior, and we're going to be able to, I get to dress him, back then, fashion, Tommy Hilfiger, Nautica, Jordans. Yeah, I'm dating myself. I know.
Tommy Hill.
Yeah, man.
Tommy's still good now.
I'm not dating that bad.
So I was like,
FUBU
man.
will be different, though.
FUBU. We had FUBU.
I wore FUBU.
Wow. So I was like, man, I'm going to go ahead and, have this little mini-me running around. And I actually had a scholarship to go to college. Would you guys like to guess what it was for?
Journalism.
You must have been listening when I talked before. So, yes, journalism, actually. I was a great writer. I could write papers, essays like no other. It came really natural to me. So, yeah, I ended up giving away or passing on that particular scholarship to go to college. And I had a best friend. He still is my best friend, but we were supposed to do things together. We were supposed to join a fraternity together and all this good stuff. And that didn't happen. So come fast forward, June of 1996, my son was born, June 17th. And I was 17 years old in 6 months. That matters because 17 and 6 months. And my son is born with Down syndrome. Now, I'm going to keep it real here. Because I'm 17 years old, and the only thing I can think of is I have a handicapped kid, right? And, of course, I was angry. I was very sad, crying and everything like that. And, everybody felt the heat as well. All my friends, my family. And I remember him being born, and when he came out, he was laying flat on the bed, right? And he had no muscle tone. So when they would pick up his arm or pick up his leg, it would just drop right back down. And then, of course, he had the facial features and, the ears. And so um, I was like, man, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do? I'm 17 and 6 months. And by the way, my nephew was born 2 months prior. My brother is 6 years older than me. So my brother being 23, me being 17, he had his first kid, and everybody was all like, oh my God, he's got his first kid. And then I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you just had your first kid. You see the difference? So I already knew that at that time, I had to figure it the F out because my parents weren't going to take care of my kid. I had to take care of him. So I was changing diapers. I was making bottles. I only had him on the weekends. During this time, too, my ex-girlfriend, as she was pregnant, decided not to put my name on the birth certificate or give my son my last name or even put my name on the birth certificate at all. Like, my name was not there, right? So no first name, no junior, no last name, no name on the birth certificate. And I was there at the hospital. I watched him be born. I cut the umbilical cord, all that good stuff. So at this time, I'm like, man, I'm getting into a lot of trouble as well. I'm out there in the streets, running around Arizona, and I had to figure something out. I got put into jail one night for fighting, and when I got out, I had to go to court. And when I went to court, they was like, hey, what are you gonna do? What do you think we should do with you? I'm like, I'm gonna enlist. And they were like, enlist in what? And I was like, military. I'm going to military. Now, I don't know what came over me, but the day prior to me going to court, I actually rolled up to a street light, and I was just sitting there in my thoughts trying to figure out everything. And I looked over and I saw the 4 services, in the strip mall. I rolled in, and the only parking spot that was open was the Marine Corps, the one right in front of the Marine Corps office. Now, I don't know military. I didn't even know my father served in the Marines. I had no idea, right? So I walked into this place, and, well, you work at the recruiting station, so you know what I'm talking about. I walked in, and I went, hey, get me the hell out of here. And they all looked at me, this scrawny 17-year-old kid. And they was like, well, first of all, have you graduated high school? I said, I just graduated 3 weeks ago. I think it was like 3 weeks ago. And they were like, okay, have you done the ASVAB? I'm like, no. What's an ASVAB? And they're like, well, we need to get you, situated first. So I said, cool. So they hadn't even enlisted me or anything. And when I went to court, I was like, I'm joining the Marine Corps. And the judge was like, okay, pending enlistment papers, we'll drop the charges. So I went. October 16, 1996, here I was entering Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego. That's where everything began. Mind you, the reason why FITFO comes into play with this, right, is because in order for me to give my ex-girlfriend child support, which is what she wanted, I had to get my name on that birth certificate. So in all actuality, me joining the military, I figured it the F out how to get my name on the birth certificate and how my son can get my last name. He just never got my first name. So I solved 2 out of the 3 problems. But I had to join the Marine Corps to do it.
They got you.
They got me, right? So I joined the Marines. And like I said, I was FITFOing it since I was 16 years old. So as we move into present day, I think about like everybody who folds under pressure, and I just, again, for me, I'm like, there is no folding under pressure. For me, I figure it the F out because in all actuality, if you really think about it, gentlemen, some of the issues you can agree, disagree, but wouldn't you say that there is a blueprint for every problem that's out there?
Yeah. Also, there's also as weird as it's gonna sound, there's also a downfall of a
Tell me more.
blueprint because, like, when you think about it, back in the day when you was a child and you was raising a child with Down syndrome, you didn't have those negative things in life that people do have nowadays too, because social media is such a difficult thing. You can like just think that, oh, I want to go abide by a diet. And then social media can be so discouraging because you see all these fake things. You don't have those sources out there. So it also can be a negative feature the way that you can like look at it like people all can go on the internet and be like, oh man, I can't do that. I can't do this because of that.
That's a fair assessment. I can.
But there is still
I
there's
can
still
agree
that
with that.
blueprint for sure out there that where you can like amplify and emulate it in your life
Yeah.
to progress. But it's also the way the world is now. It's so easy to get broken down just from social media alone.
I think that I guess with me, and I hate this word. I really do. I apologize to anybody out there that disagrees, but I hate the word bullying. Because I believe in my world, I grew the thickest of skin because of bullying. Like I know clowning sessions and things like that. You know what I mean? So I have very thick skin, but I also grew up in the, let's me and you go behind the building. Let's go somewhere and we can hash this out like men, or we can throw some fists and call it a day. I grew up like that. So, you can't do that nowadays. You call people out and say that, and then they're going to get you for assault, And so I won't apologize for that, by the way, because that needs to come back. We need to have that punching you in the mouth mentality again, And that's the thing. People hide behind keyboards and stuff, and no, they ain't never been punched in their mouth. Yeah, I tell you, I don't know about you guys because you guys are a little younger, but I don't know if you know this or not, and I'm not being condescending. I'm just asking. But do you know what it feels like to get punched in your mouth by another man for talking shit?
Not for it was set up professionally.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, you talking too much shit? All right, boxing gloves.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Right? And you?
I wasn't talking shit. I got jumped one time. Shit was not fun. I was talking shit while getting jumped too, which is probably the worst part.
Well-
I adhere to that because I was mad as fuck when I was getting jumped, so it's not fun. I was just mad as fuck the entire time. Like, you bitch. That's
Okay. See, he's having a flashback right now. But at the end of the day, like, I never could really have a bothersome with bullying or somebody talking smack, because to me, I'm like, oh man, let's go talk about it, and I'd approach the individual. When figuring it the F out, even, and why I was talking even about the whole bullying thing is that because, I figured out how to, and I remember a good friend of mine, Willis Flores, was like, yo, dude, you need to clap back when they're clowning you instead of folding and, getting upset. Just come back with some jokes. And I'm like, yeah, but I suck at it. And he's like, dude, you got to do it. You got to try it. And he'll get better through time, And, when you start clapping back with the worst jokes ever and everybody just kind of gives you that look like, dude,
Them
why'd you?
roast sessions
Yeah,
in high school were
right.
crazy.
So I think that grew a lot of thick skin as well. So let's fast forward to military time. So, in the military, it's kind of crazy because it's FITFO 24/7. I mean, all of us, these two gentlemen are both Marines as well. And we can tell you that, that's the biggest key component to success is knowing how to FITFO, And I think that's what allows us to be who we are, especially because, we operate with speed and intensity. And operating with speed and intensity doesn't necessarily mean doing it with efficiency neither. It's like, just get the job done, right? But as I was in the Marine Corps, I got into a lot of trouble. And I got into a lot of trouble because and now we pull it all together. I got into a lot of trouble because I grew up with the punch you in your mouth mentality. This is the first time I realized that not everybody grew up that way. So there was some people that would yap their lips, and next thing you know, I'm punching them in the mouth, and now I'm getting in trouble for assault or getting in trouble for whatever. Or getting just hazed, instead of getting, because that was back then when they would haze you, instead of writing.
Use that word.
What, haze?
Can't use that word.
Haze.
We can't use that word.
You know, I believe, I just had this conversation, matter of fact, with my brother. It was kind of funny. Me and my brother had a long conversation about this. Shout out to Ray Ray. We actually talked about hazing, how much hazing is acceptable. And I was like, for me, in the Marine Corps, I believe every pinnacle, every accomplishment that I made, there was a necessary amount of hazing that had to come along with it. And you actually sign up for it. I wouldn't call it hazing. I would call it initiation. You know, for instance, right? Boot camp. You go to boot camp, you're going to get yelled at. You're going to get screamed at. You're going to get IT'd. IT is instructional training, meaning you're going to do push-ups and all that good stuff, right? And how many times did you gentlemen get IT'd for something you didn't even do, right?
Probably didn't even do anything.
You didn't even do anything, but you
I
got
blinked
IT'd,
wrong.
right? You blinked wrong or something like that, right? And so that's a part of the initiation. They want you to, you know, to be strong in the face of adversity. And you know, and be able to stay steadstrong and have bearing during the times of pressure. I think it's a great thing. Now, do people take it too far? The answer is yes. And that's where I believe the hazing comes in. And I was explaining this to my brother because my brother was never a Marine, but I was explaining it to him like every step of the way, I took a massive amount of initiation hazing. But there was always that one person that wanted to take it too far. And I knew my limits. So I was a person who spoke up. If there was something, I was like, hold up. We ain't doing that. And then, you know, punch him in the mouth mentality, and then I get in trouble. That's normally what would happen back then. So, but I had to figure it out because that wasn't key to success. So I had to figure out how to stay successful yet still keep my pride in check. You know what I mean? But I figured it out. But every step of the way, there was adversity. Every step of the way, there was something that came in the picture that, you know, I had to make major decisions on. And I believe that my military career set me up for success here as an entrepreneur. So I can drag this whole podcast out to, you know, probably hours talking about every single moment of adversity, every single moment of challenges that I had to figure it the F out, how I was going to do it. You know, I mean, I can do business and I can do personal. I can tell you how I got in trouble and I had to, you know, gain my ranks back because I got busted down to a lower rank. I could also tell you about, you know, trouble that I got into with the law, you know, because of drinking. I can tell you about a divorce, you know. I can tell you about my 9-year-old daughter at the time, shout out to Marissa, my oldest daughter, who popped up at 9 years old and was like, "You're my dad." You know, what do you do then? You know, she's 25 now, you know, and we have a strong relationship, but what do you do? How do you figure that out? So I feel like for me, through all these different moments of adversity, I had a FITFO. So here we are at entrepreneurship, and I'm older, right? I can't go punching people in the mouth nowadays, as much as I want to. Some of y'all. Oh, you guys have some too, right? You have a list? Why y'all stay quiet?
I don't know about you, but
It's in my notes in my phone.
There's a little asterisk.
I just stare at the notes and I put an extra check mark for taking out yet.
There's a little asterisk next to it.
You got it coming, I swear to God.
but got that Arya list from Game of Thrones.
But here's the thing. It's like, you know, why, and the point of this podcast is because we've had some amazing guests. You know, I think, 7 now? Like 7 guests, 8 guests, right? We've had some amazing guests, and they are from all different industries. I don't think there was one repeated yet. I think everybody was in different industries, right? And yet they all spoke of their adversity. They all spoke of how they figured it the F out. So I think it's very important for everybody to watch this podcast because you're going to hear normal people, but yet successful people speak of how they FITFO'd. And I think that's the key component here. You know, this is the reason why I made this podcast is because I'm tired of people not having thick skin, number one. It's like, oh man, have some thick skin. Problems exist for everybody. And yes, there is a blueprint to every problem to get to a solution. There's not one person in this world that has not been through what you've been through. It's not. There's so many people that have gone down the road of entrepreneurship, business, marriage, military, getting out of the military, It's so many things so many people, but you got to seek it. Don't think you're in a world all by yourself is the moral of the story. So what do you guys have to say?
Oh man. Yeah, I definitely understand, and I think it's just challenging. I think, especially like I was talking about earlier with the social media things. I'm so in tune with social media with my job. I'm always looking at it, and I see some of the good things and the positive and the negatives. But like it really is out there. There's so much free stuff too, to where you can learn to be successful. You have a class every Tuesday for all our local Texas natives that are in the Dallas area. Like there's people out there that want to help and want to see you succeed. So it's just like there's those answers are out there, and people, like you said, have figured it the fuck out. Like there's not a single person probably humankind's been around for a long time. There's probably someone that has some type of relation to where something you be going through. They could give you some pointers. Hey man, try this out, do this. Blueprints out there, but also don't fold under social media because that can be your downfall.
Yeah, man. Everybody, when you're out there trying to measure up to the masses, you're trying to compare yourself. It could definitely bring you down. There's a thing called imposter syndrome that everybody always talks about, it, right? So imposter syndrome is a real thing, but that also, I believe, in my opinion, that the imposter syndrome stems from your lack of confidence in general. Because when you're confident about yourself, you're just like, you know what? Yeah, I don't feel like I measure up to these people, but I can do this. And that's what happens with me. I go into rooms and yeah, I see some people that are ahead of the game than me. I know they're ahead of the game, whether in success, money, financial, whatever, right? And sometimes I feel like, who am I to talk to them or even to be in the same room as them? That's that imposter syndrome. But then I remind myself, I'm like, dude, just be you. Be who you are. If they accept you, they accept you. If they don't, they don't. But just be a good person, And lo and behold, because I'm a good person and because I actually do give a shit and it's sincere, it's not no bullshit agenda, trying to, use people, which there's a lot of those folks out there. I have a tendency of making some great friends that are some pretty big, places. So what say you there, Webster? What you got to say?
Nothing too much in particular. I think you guys are hitting it right on the head. I would say every day we wake up and it's for a reason.
Yes, sir.
And especially through at my Let's speaking session that we went through at Coaching Con, he was like, when you're born to do something great, you usually don't know when you're doing it.
Yeah.
And that was a great note that everyone
that stuck
can
with
take.
you, huh?
Yeah, it did, because not every day it's not granted to you.
Yeah.
Like you woke up for a reason and you just got to find that purpose.
You know what my purpose is? I'm putting you on the spot. Do you know what my mission statement is?
I don't.
My brand mission statement. Do you know what my brand mission statement is?
I'm in charge of self-made.
Ooh.
I know what like one of your topics. I guarantee I can pick a word that's in there.
I'll go ahead and take. He said what?
It's something with leadership.
I'll go ahead and take the hit on this. This is my fault. So to the crowd out there, this is on me because I did not keep my people informed. All right. So this one's on me. I'll take the hit on this one. But when we come back at another time, I'm going to ask them the same question.
I'm going to remember it.
Yeah. Don't get your notes. It's to help everyone and anyone that I come in contact with to be successful personally or professionally.
I can remember that. Okay.
That's my mission statement. Anybody that comes in contact with me, if I can help them to be successful personally and professionally, that's what my job is. So, it's cool that you said that because I took you to Coaching Con so you can experience this. and then you have that gem now ingrained in your head, right?
And it's something I didn't even realize I was already partaking in.
Yeah.
It's just when someone spoke it into existence, I'm like, he's right.
Yeah, right?
I just haven't found it yet.
Well, you're destined for greatness, as are you, Tony. You guys are destined for greatness, and I know it. That's why I chose you two to be on my team, because
You are greatness.
Yes, we are greatness all together, right? That's the thing. You put us all together. It's crazy. I'm actually nervous to see what we can what we can do, because it's going to be so great that all three of us are going to be like, man, I can't believe this is happening. You know, I know that for a fact. So with that, I will say that Project FITFO, if you watch it, it's going to be so cool for everybody to be able to see what's even coming, because we have some major guests already lined up for the next few weeks. That
You got a packed schedule for sure.
yeah, that it's going to be amazing to listen to these people give their stories of how they have figured it the F out into some really crazy situations, you know, and how they actually came out of it prosperous and, you know, made it happen. To the entrepreneur that's out there that wants to build their business, understand that FITFO is everything in your business. Every day is an adventure. Every day is a roller coaster. Every day there's something new. Shout out to my man Caesar, my facility manager, self-made, because he knows that's exactly what we speak of. Everything is on us to make it happen. Like that, we have the responsibility as an entrepreneur. Your sole responsibility is to provide the success of your company. That's it. That's what you're supposed to do at all costs. Make it happen. So, right? Make it happen. Go ahead. You wanted to say something?
It just reminded me of something where I had to, like, you recently gave me some good advice on something that I wasn't even thinking of for my own company, and I was like, I gotta make sure that I don't just jump in the head and jump the gun. Make sure I do it properly. Make sure I do it educatedly. And you gave me that advice, and I was like, I was warned by a few others too, and I didn't look at it. I looked at it too much from an emotional aspect.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta think about it as an entrepreneur. Like, yo, this small little discrepancy can really mess up your business. And I gotta make sure, like, hey, as hard as it may be, you gotta make sure that you put yourself first.
Oh yeah,
Because it's only you that cares about your company at the end of the day.
it's chess. This ain't checkers. That's one thing. I mean, it is chess. You know, can't get greedy. You know, you can't think that your queen is gonna knock everything off the board, because lo and behold, you be, you know, in a position to where now you're flanked in all directions, and you got to understand that you have to be strategic about every move you make. You're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. That's where FITFO comes in, because it doesn't have to be a dire mistake. It could be a lesson learned. Too many times people make mistakes and they automatically want to quit. And it's like, no, figure it out. You tried this, didn't work, learn from it, try something new. So it's not that there isn't an outcome. There is always an outcome. It's just you get to determine the outcome by the way you react to the situation. And, you know, there's days, I'm not going to lie, where I'm so angry or I'm so like frustrated or whatever with whatever situations are happening. That's normal. And any entrepreneur that's out there that's given this false pretense that it's just all this, you know, glam, and you got all the fancy cars and the nice watches and, you know, and all that good stuff, and you are literally selling this dream to people, but you're not talking to them about the hard road, like the legitimate hard road that got you there. Yeah, that's.
It is a lonely road, as you told me.
Oh, it is a lonely
It is a
road.
lonely
You're going to
road.
lose a lot of people. You're going to lose friends. You're going to lose family members. You're going to lose all types of people during an entrepreneur process.
Crab bucket effect.
Crab bucket. There you go. I love it when y'all listen. I love that. You know, that's one thing I love about you guys, is you guys hear it, because the crab bucket effect is true. If you don't know the crab bucket effect, the crab trying to get out the pail and the other crabs are trying to bring them back into the bucket. You know, a lot of people suffer from that. So understanding that and understanding how FITFO plays into this is so important for your success. Because when the problems exist, if you take a deep breath, You breathe in, you breathe out, and you go, okay, how are we going to figure this out? So here's a gem for you. One of the best ways to be able to figure out solutions to problems is using a whiteboard. Put all your thoughts on that whiteboard. Put all your avenues of approach. Put all your courses of action on that whiteboard. Stand back, look at it, analyze it, see which ones make sense. You can also do this for purchasing a house. You can do this for, when your kid wants to go to college. I mean, there's all types of ways you can do this. Okay. So with that, you guys got any parting words?
Go ahead,
Y'all
Webster.
silent now all of a sudden?
None from me.
Webster ain't got nothing.
Somebody got to
Drop
drop
it.
something. Got to drop something hard right now,
Go ahead.
man.
Oh, now you got something. Okay, he got put on the spot. Webster, go ahead.
One thing we didn't head on was just not quitting.
Okay.
I think there's a big aspect and a big component of everyone knows the reality of the struggles, the trials and tribulations that you go through, but the not quitting aspect is what gets to a lot of people, because the moment where you feel like it's too hard or too rough, you have to think to yourself, this is where most people quit.
And that's the cool part, is that when you're at that brink, and that's where most people will quit, and you keep going, yeah, man, there's no better feeling.
It can be in any aspect. The extra rep you have to do in the gym, the extra contact you have to call, the extra paper you have to print out, the extra hour that you have to spend editing something. It doesn't matter what it is. Someone else won't do it. So if they won't, who will?
Yo, you ever
You
heard
will.
that whole statement that I hear? I hear it all the time. Nobody's going to outwork me. You ever hear that, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I think it's cool that when people say it, I mean, you can't really put that into any kind of formula where you can see if you're actually outworking everybody, obviously. But the fact that you have that mentality, like, I'm going to work so hard that it's going to be hard for people to catch up. That was one of my things. My things for me is like, I want to do so much that even if, at the end of the day, let's just say some of it fails, some of it makes, is a success, nobody can catch me. I'm so far ahead of the game like that you can't catch me, and I'm going to keep running. So I'm going to keep running with it. So quitting will only set me back. Let's talk about life, because this is one of my famous phrases that I don't regress. I don't stay stagnant. I only progress. And that's in life. I think that a lot of people, they're comfortable with either staying right here, which is stagnant, and they're like, I'm cool. I'm not cool like that. Like, I have to be able to keep moving forward. I got to be able to be making moves in my life, something new, leveling up, right? Having that next level. It's like a video game. When you kill the final boss, what do? Is the game over? What ends up happening?
What's on the next
You go
mission?
on to the next video game that you're like, I got to kill another, I got to start at another level so I can, get to that next final boss. And it's just like, you just never quit. So that's how life should be. Life should be like, I just want to continue to level up. I never want to stay stagnant. I definitely don't want to go backwards. I remember when I got divorced, I had a 5-bedroom, 3-bath house, right, with my ex-wife, and 3,200 square feet, very nice home in California. And when I got divorced, well, the house went too, right? I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment. And I'll never forget this. I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment from a 5-bedroom, 3-bath house. And I had a shower. I didn't even have a shower curtain. I had no furniture. I had a paper plate. I had one plastic spoon and one plastic fork. And that was it. And peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for days. And I lost it all in my divorce. And I promised myself, I don't care how long it's going to take, I'm getting all my lifestyle back. It took me 4 years, from 2012 to 2016. But in 2016, I moved into another, big house, and it was mine again, and I was back. And I felt it. I was like, I'm back. And this time I had a pool and a jacuzzi in that house, which I didn't have in the first house. So
I'm coming
so
for
I
it
leveled
all.
up. You see what I'm saying? But it was just like, even in that aspect, we could always take a step back because, in that situation, I got divorced. So it brought me back. But it wasn't regression because I wasn't forcing myself to go backwards. I got forced to go backwards, but then I didn't stay backwards. It was like almost like the wind hit me and pushed me back, but then I just kept walking forward into that wind. and said, well, I'm still going to make it over to that other side. And I agree with you, Webster. You know, it's like people quit and they just like literally fall and they're like, oh my God, life sucks. It's like,
And they see the comfort in quitting too.
yeah, man.
Because like, oh, if I just stopped right now, I can do this, or I can now go back to that, or I can do this now. But if you keep progressing and you keep working, you keep grinding, those rewards are going to outweigh that failure by.
And you have it in your head that you won't be stopped. You know, like that phrase. I love that phrase. You won't outwork me. But it's a good mindset to have, because you just won't stop and you won't quit. So, what you got? Yeah,
What I got?
last party words.
Oh, I thought Webster just capped it off. Damn.
You up next. You the last one.
Man. So I guess when it comes to FITFO, something that I just love to abide by is the fact, like kind of caveating what Webster said earlier, is I just love the fact of like life. I'm so grateful. Like I talk about it to a lot of my friends every now and day. Like, yo, you never know when this shit could just end. Driving home, shit could end. Some people didn't wake up today and they didn't know the reason. Something in their brain pops off. They went to bed thinking that tomorrow I was gonna go get coffee at my favorite spot and this and that. But man, be grateful for the life you have and all the things you've progressed so far. Just keep pushing, man. Keep pushing.
Yeah, I don't care who you believe in. I'm a God-fearing man. I believe in God. God is, everything to me. So I keep my faith in God. I make things happen. And I know that he's got a plan for me. That's what matters. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and end this one. This has been a good one. I appreciate you gentlemen being here. And remember, when all else fails, figure it the F out. And we out of here.